let's talk about those inner obstacles. The ones that just get in the way of our focus and our sense of peace. It's that mental static that keeps our minds from feeling truly clear and, well, effective. We're going to dive into what they are and how we can start to see past them.
You know that feeling, right? When you are trying so hard to concentrate, but your mind just will not cooperate. It can feel like you're trying to see through a thick fog, or like it's just buzzing with a million different thoughts at once. It's such a universal human thing, that feeling that our own mind is sometimes working against us.
Well, it turns out this isn't some new, modern problem. Not at all. Ancient contemplative traditions had a very precise vocabulary for these exact states. They called them the hindrances, and they saw them not just as, bad moods, but as specific, identifiable patterns that literally obscure our natural clarity.
So, what are these hindrances? This tradition identifies 5 really distinct categories, known in the Pali language as the Pancha Nivaranani. The whole idea is that by simply being able to name them, we can start to recognize them when they pop up in our own minds. So let's break them down one by one.
First, let's look at the word itself. The Pali term nivarana literally translates to a covering or an obstacle. Think of it like a thick blanket that's been thrown over a bright light. The light is still there, right? But it just can't shine through. These hindrances actively obstruct the mind, and as the texts say, they weaken our wisdom.
All right, first up is sensual desire. This is the mind that's constantly chasing the next pleasant thing. Whether it's that magnetic pull to check your phone for a new notification, the craving for something sweet, or just getting lost in an endless social media scroll. The mind gets hooked, always looking outside of itself for the next dose of satisfaction, which makes it absolutely impossible to settle down.
Next up is ill will, which is basically the opposite of desire. So instead of pulling things toward us, we're aggressively pushing them away. This can be anything from that simmering frustration you feel when you're stuck in traffic to replaying an argument over and over again in your head. When this hindrance is active, the mind just feels tight, agitated, and full of conflict.
The third one is sloth and torpor. This is that heavy, sleepy dullness. And it's not just about being physically tired, it's a deep mental fog. The mind just lacks energy, and any attempt to focus feels like you're trying to wade through thick mud. It's this really powerful internal resistance to making any kind of effort at all.
Now, the fourth hindrance actually has 2 parts. The first part is restlessness, that familiar monkey mind that just can't sit still, right? It's always jumping from one thought to the next. And the second part is remorse, which is where the mind gets stuck on past mistakes, just replaying them on a loop. Both of these create a mind that's simply too agitated to be present.
And the fifth and final hindrance is doubt, or visikaccha. Now, this isn't the healthy kind of questioning that leads to wisdom. Oh no. This is a corrosive, cynical kind of doubt that just paralyzes us. The mind spins and spins in indecision, unable to trust itself or commit to any path, constantly asking, what if, and getting totally stuck.
So the really crucial point here is how these 5 hindrances affect our potential. The source texts use this brilliant parable to illustrate it. It's a story about trying to start a fire, which is really a metaphor for generating insight or wisdom. Okay, first, imagine a piece of wood that's been left soaking in a bucket of water. It's completely saturated. Now, could a person, no matter how hard they tried, create a fire from it? The texts say, no way. It's impossible. This is just like a mind that's completely soaked in desires and aversions. It's totally unable to generate that spark of clarity.
Now, what if you take that same piece of wood out of the water and place it on dry land? Can you make a fire now? The answer is still no. See, even though it's been removed from the external water, it's still internally damp. This is like someone who withdraws from the world, maybe goes on a retreat, but their mind is still filled with these hindrances. The conditions just aren't right yet.
Finally, imagine a piece of wood that is completely dry and it's placed on dry land. Now, can you create a fire? Absolutely. The potential is 100% there. This represents the mind that has been cleared of the 5 hindrances. It's prepared, it's receptive, and it's ready for that spark of insight.
So how do we get our wood dry? This is the big question, right? Well, the texts are very practical about this. They say it all comes down to what we do with our attention. We can either feed the hindrances, which makes them stronger, or we can choose to starve them, which causes them to wither away.
This really boils down to 2 kinds of attention. First, there's unwise attention. This is when we pour fuel on the fire.
So, for example, when you're feeling angry, you just keep replaying the insult in your head over and over, making the anger stronger. But on the other hand, there's wise attention. This is learning to turn the mind towards something that counteracts the hindrance. In that same moment of anger, it might mean choosing to focus on your breath or on a feeling of compassion. It's a conscious choice about where we direct our mental energy.
So what happens when we consistently practice this kind of wise attention? Well, the texts paint a very, very compelling picture of the result. A mind that is no longer obstructed. A completely different kind of inner world. The sources say that when the mind is freed from these 5 corruptions, it becomes malleable and workable, kind of like soft gold that a goldsmith can shape into anything. It's described as radiant and luminous, not brittle or broken. It becomes well concentrated, and just like that dry piece of wood, it's ready for insight, capable of seeing things as they truly are.
So, to leave you with a final thought, now that you've seen this map of the mind's obstacles, which one do you tend to notice showing up most often for you? You don't have to fix it or fight it, just noticing, just naming it. That's the first and honestly the most powerful step toward finding your own clarity.